Check. Nice. All right. So yeah, thanks everybody for making some time. I know that as you jump into the new courses, working with D2L, many of you, or most of you, and still some with Moodle, but all of us working with or going towards working with the StudyForge LTI. And as anybody has heard along the way, that moving towards a more stable and more developed LTI system led us in the direction of working with StudyForge to go down this road. And so for those of you who are kind of like, oh, why did you switch? And it's kind of like, this might be the last switch for a while, right? And that's our goal, just the idea of establishing a nice solid direction for us that has all the features that we want. And one of the big set of features that we didn't have with our own home-built LTI system was the ability to actually get into the lessons themselves and make modifications, tests, and stuff like that. So with the StudyForge, I think that's a huge step in the right direction for us. So many of you, I realize, aren't going to be messing around in your courses to a huge degree, probably until the fall or something like that. But Richard was kind enough to agree to step in and just kind of give us that brief overview now. And then certainly there'll be more opportunities to go into greater depth. But one of those will be at the online conference in the early fall, which is actually probably pretty good timing for a lot of people. They'll be pretty comfortable with the courses and they'll be ready to learn how to dive in further with them. So anyway, so today it's just for an hour. So I'm going to shut up here real quick and turn it over to Richard. It's just an overview, kind of give you a taste of where things are going. If you're real keen, you might start fooling around with it. But it's to start to give you a feel for where we're going and what the potential is with the new system, with more coming later. So that being said, I will let people in as they show up there, Richard, and you take over, please.
Great, thanks, Brent. And thanks everybody for coming. There's quite a few of you, so that's fantastic, 27 people. I really would, there's a few different kind of ways I could go with this, and an hour feels like plenty for what Brent kind of gave me as a agenda so far, which is kind of to just highlight some of the features and the ways to adjust and tweak things. So I was going to show how to do that in a lesson and how to adjust settings in a quiz. It's kind of a little overview to whet your taste, but I wanted to maybe start with, is there any questions, first of all, or things that you're curious about? Maybe you've clicked in and have some questions already because you've got some WCLN courses up and going, or maybe your district hasn't got them set up yet and you're curious what it's going to look like. But I just wanted to, just as we're getting started, give a couple minutes to just see if there's any questions from the group. So you can either drop them in the chat or just unmute and let her rip. So yeah, I want to take some questions first, and then that way I can cater the presentation to the needs and wants of who's on the call.
I've got one for you.
Thanks. Yeah, Robert. Hi, good to see you.
You too. So for those of us that have been using StudyForge for other courses for a while now, is this pretty much exact same platform, features, things we're able to do, or are there any major minor differences that might be out there?
Yeah, great question. I love it. I will answer that one. Anybody else have more questions? I'll just take a bunch and then I'll go through and I will make sure we get them all covered, because some of them might cover in the demo at different points. But the quick answer is yes, same thing with, just some changes based on the content, but I'll answer more detail. Great question, Robert. Thanks. Harsha.
Yeah, Richard, it's Harsha. Yeah. Just wondering, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I was just wondering. So we are obviously, using StudyForge for a while, and I was just worried about the licensing. And Brent answered that question that we use the same link, and it just seems like, how does that work? It's kind of intriguing, and I'm just worried about licensing not going to where it's going. So if you could just maybe touch on that, that would be great.
Yeah, great question. I can definitely answer that one for you, but it all will work fine. So good to go there. That's the preview. Okay, Nolan, I'll get your question too.
Okay, so we are using the courses with Brightspace, and I'm kind of just assuming, is everybody using it on Brightspace, or some people are still using it on Moodle, maybe? Okay,
Mhm.
and then so I'm kind of curious if there's anybody out there who has successfully integrated their LTI 1.3 into Brightspace, because I'm not successful at it yet, and I followed the instructions clearly, and I'm curious, are there other people who did it and successfully now have their courses working with the LTI 1.3 in Brightspace?
That's a great question. I'll just let that one sit for a second. Does anybody want to pop on and answer that one? Has anybody got it up and going? I know existing people have already been on StudyForge. We're already set up, so for them it's a bit simpler. But is anybody on D2L and just set up for the first time via Brent's instructions and got it working?
Pretty tough.
Yeah, we have locally, and then we've also had some people who have run into little things along the way and got them over humps and stuff. So there are quite a few people that have gotten it. If you are kind of running into any troubles, feel free to fire me an email, and if it's something that I can figure out, I'll let you know. And if it kind of is something that looks like, oh, that's something new, then I will send it Richard and Tony's way and they can figure it out. But that's kind of how we've been treating it. And I've had a number of people kind of coming my way. And yeah, so I do know that there are a number of successful folks out there. So yeah, send things my way if you're running into troubles.
Just nobody here online, out of all the people here, nobody is on Brightspace successfully with LTI 1.3. That's interesting. Okay, good to know. And thank you, Brent. I know you've been answering my emails like today. I'm pretty sure you probably remember answering my email today, right? So thank you, Brent, for all the support.
I'll step in and just say from District 59 that we are onboarding with Brightspace right now, and I believe that our tech lead has successfully done that just yesterday or the day before, but I have not confirmed that. So I can't speak to it, but I do believe we have.
Cool.
Oh, hi. Just dropping in from Surrey. Just looking at my instance right now. I think, yeah, we've been using StudyForge LTI 1.3 with the calculus course for some time. So I think we've been up and running for several months.
We have been too.
Yeah, and we have been as well. I had some problems with it today that Brent helped me out with, because we've been using the LTI from StudyForge for one school in the district, and I had to make changes to make it available for the whole district.
So it looks like generally there is a consensus that some people are up, some people are not. It's one of those things that once it's up and going, then it's up and going. So it's just that initial kind of over the hump thing. But Nolan, if Brent can't help you figure it out, then he'll escalate it to us and we'll get it going for you.
Okay, I can't wait till we're over that hump. I'm really looking forward to
that. I have Anurita question about Moodle drag and drop. That's a great question. I'll hit that later, so that'll be exciting. Thanks for asking that one. I've added that to the questions. And then Harsher, you have another one to add?
Yeah, I actually had one more question. I was kind of wondering about this, about at what level you put it in. Like now with the WCLN courses, we're going to be putting StudyForge into a lot more levels. Like, as long as I kind of was struggling with, I saw that a lot of my course templates had access to the StudyForge that, got given permission, but the course offering, it wasn't working for some reason. So I'm just wondering if it should work as long as the period of that, OU or the item, whatever, as long as it has permissions, or if you would know about that.
Yeah, so D2L has obviously a lot of settings. And so if you have it at the top org unit and all descendants, theoretically that should populate down into all of those places. But it would just have to be your internal org unit structure in your instance of D2L to make sure that every place where you might put a course under those org units can see StudyForge. Based on that, that is something that can often go wrong, though, is that either org units don't save on what's called the deployment in LTI in D2L. So that might be a case of just making sure that the org units are set up correctly. But that's something that we can resolve, again, Harsher, just on a support call or something like that if it's not coming through.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. So I've got some great questions. Any more questions? And if not, I'll kind of
I could
jump
be a little
in.
more
Yeah.
specific with a quick question.
Yeah, please.
A little technical, but so like I was trying my LTI 1.3 today and it wasn't working. So what I wanted to do was just absolutely eliminate and delete that and get it right out of there. I could only enable and disable it. I couldn't find like a delete, completely remove it and start fresh over. Is that even a possibility with Brightspace?
It is at a certain level. So that's something that I can maybe at the end of the call, if there's time, once we're kind of through a little demo here and stuff, that might be a good one to just have on the recording of how to delete, but it depends on, I don't have access to the admin levels for the ministry sites of D2L. And sometimes you don't have options that we have a full D2L instance for StudyForge testing that we pay D2L for. So that's not, maybe you don't have that button that I have. It could be that option. Bill and Poria.
Hi, Richard.
Bill.
I just have a question. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's for Brent, but for courses that haven't traditionally been run by StudyForge, or at least aren't listed, for instance, Physics 12 or the English 11 is a little bit different than WCLN. What's that going to look like? So in other words, if I'm still using the WCLN shell for my English 11, but you guys don't offer the same course as WCLN, how is your LTI going to sync exactly in that situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll just answer that question right now. Basically, WCLN courses are, WCLN courses are the WCLN courses. The StudyForge courses are the StudyForge courses, and they're not, they don't overlap, they're not linked. There's no, what's the word there? There's no conflict or no overlap between them. So if you download the WCLN course for D2L or for Moodle and put it in your D2L or Moodle, you'll be accessing the WCLN content, regardless of if you could also access a StudyForge course, but that's not kind of what we're talking about today at this point, really. So they're very separate. I think that should answer your question. They're separate courses in separate areas of StudyForge. Poria, I think you had one, and then Robert, I see your hand up again.
Hi, Richard. So my question was about databases of questions, or how much flexibility is there really to add questions, subtract our own, and the types of, I guess, questions that will be available now going forward with StudyForge?
Yeah, that's one I'm really excited to share about, because you kind of will have the best of both worlds there. But I'll save that one for the demo. So stay tuned, which we'll jump into. And then Robert, maybe I'll take your question, then I'll get started, because I think some of the questions I want to answer with the demo. Go ahead.
Mine was actually the last one, but with one extension. Will we be able to build our own quizzes out of the stat? Like not just to edit the ones that are there, but build our own.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll definitely get to that in the later aspects of this demo. So without further ado, I think I'll jump in and I will answer some of the questions as we go along, and then I'll circle back at strategic times to answer other questions. And then there's some that I'll save till the very end if they haven't got answered. So we'll cycle back to that. Thank you. That's fantastic to get a good splattering of questions to start. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of show both D2L and Moodle and switch back and forth a little bit. And I'm just going to demo from English 9 as a WCLN course and what that looks like. So here we are in English 9 in D2L. Now I'm using kind of an earlier version. There might be a slight discrepancy between what you see here and what Brent has, because I don't have access to the WCLN's D2L shells. So this is a previous version that we supplied to him. So it might not look exactly like this. Also, our D2L instance that I'm demoing from might look slightly different than yours. But I'm just going to kind of show from here what that looks like and what the gist looks like. So the gist is it will look something like this. So let's just take a look at Unit 1 here. True Stories of Adventure. Actually, I'm going to jump into Unit 2. Okay, because this should have a quiz at the end, I think, as well. Okay, Unit 2 test, great. So just a little thing here about what is in StudyForge and what is not in StudyForge. So there's two things that were in the previous Moodle courses that are now in StudyForge and will have the features that I'm going to show you here. One would be the lessons, which were traditionally the WCLN books. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second here. And I'll walk you through the entire process of how you could start to edit and tweak those books and rearrange some WCLN content. Because that's one of the benefits of moving to StudyForge is that the books and things can now be editable and adjusted and tweaked. So when you see this little icon here, external learning tool, or if I'm over here in English 9 and I jump into Unit 2, and you see this little icon here is what you'll probably see in Moodle. Depending on if Moodle's set up for icons, you might see a puzzle piece icon here. This is now accessing StudyForge for these lessons as opposed to Moodle. So I'm just going to click on one of these lessons, or sorry, yeah, as opposed to the Moodle books. And so the books have been translated into StudyForge as what we call readings. I should go to not an overview, but something that has a bit more content here. Let's go to letters as stories. Here we go. My screen share is working, right? Are you guys seeing D2L here? Okay, great. Should have checked that first. Okay, so the first thing that you'll notice is that the format of how the kind of books are laid out is a little bit different. We have what's called, here's basically the content that was on each page of the book. And you see this kind of little book icon here. We call this a container. It holds some learning objects. And so students will kind of click down sequentially to see each aspect of the book as they go down through. Now, one thing that just depending on which LMS you're in and what it looks like and what your settings are for how your LMS looks, it might be a little bit scrolly, lots of scrolls within scrolls. You can always come to this menu here and click open in a new tab, and that will pop this out into a full screen mode. Or in D2L, you can also hit this button here, and this will open it still as an iframe within Brightspace, but kind of without anything else around it. Though there's still a lot of scrolling, as you can see here. Okay, so lesson A, lesson B, and here's some more content through this book. And you can see this is the WCLN content that we had. Here's the videos that are there. And students will work through this content just like this. Now, the difference with StudyForge is that you can take this, before that content was kind of locked in WCLN. In StudyForge, this can be edited. So I'm just going to show how that can work. And again, when you're working on these types of things, I would recommend maybe popping this out into a new tab. It's still the same account that you're accessing through D2L, but when popped out in a new tab, you get just a bit more screen space and real estate to work with here. So you can't edit this lesson directly right now today. We're working on ways that might make this workflow a little bit easier and faster, but I'm just going to go through how it looks today just to show you that it is possible. But the first thing to kind of understand is that there's this course in D2L that is obviously a D2L course. And so everything here that you see can be edited or moved or arranged. So if you don't want this learning guide, you can just delete it like you used to be able to delete it. And you can customize the assignments and the hand boxes and the forums. All of those still live in Moodle and still live in D2L. So those didn't move to StudyForge. It's just these lessons and the quizzes that are now in StudyForge. So this you could edit just within D2L. And before you couldn't edit these with WCLN, but now you can edit and tweak these. I'm going to show you what that looks like here. So what you'd first do is go here to manage my custom courses. So right now we're on the WCLN master course, the ELA 9 master course. But what you can do, if I go to manage my custom courses, is you can create a new course. And we're going to call this my custom ELA 9. And we'll say this is a grade 9 level course. Right at first, when you first create a course, It's just going to be private to you, but later on you can set it to the name of the course group as well. So when you want to publish it to your students, that's what you would set here. So let's just leave it only me for now, and we'll create a new course. And now we have this course going here. So what we're going to do is we're going to select from ELA 9. Now it's already defaulted to that because that's the course that I was in. And basically I'm going to drag over here. I could expand all this to show you what's happening here. This is all the content that lives in D2L. There's 4 lessons and a quiz or a test in each unit. So I'm going to pull over these units. And so just like this, I'm basically creating a duplicate of the, let's go with that for now. Just three units is enough. So I'm basically creating a duplicate of the WCLN course. And now that I have that, I can come in here and I can edit, like this lesson we were looking at before, True Stories of Adventure. So I'm going to hit the edit button, and it's going to warn me, do you want to unlink this lesson? So right now it's kind of tied to the master WCLN course. And that means if Brent's team goes in and makes an update and adds some more content to it, you'll get that content and those updates. If we hit unlink, which is what you want to do because you want to customize it, you won't get those updates anymore. So let's say, so I've just unlinked this lesson here, and I'm gonna, let's say I didn't like this particular reading or this particular page of the book here. I can just click an X there, and I wanted to rearrange the order of these. I could rearrange the order here and then hit check. And just like that, I now have a custom lesson that now I've made and rearranged. And that's kind of just as easy as that to take some content and rearrange it. I'm going to show you one more workflow you might want to do. And I'll just click here. Now I can edit this lesson again. Before, I couldn't see this edit this lesson button. And that's because I'll just actually show it over here. When I was into the lesson here, through D2L, I don't have edit this lesson here. And the reason why I don't have edit this lesson is because this within StudyForge is the WCLN kind of master course. So first I have to create a custom course, copy over the WCLN master course, and now I can come in here and edit and tweak and change this lesson. So now I have my custom ELA 9, and I do have the edit this lesson button. So another option or availability or cool thing with the StudyForge is I can, while editing this lesson, I could pop over to a different lesson, like say the learning guide. And let's say I want to combine the learning guide and something else all into, oh, there's nothing there. Let's try this one. Oh, there's nothing there either. That's weird. Hello. Let's just go this way. No. I don't want the custom one. It's not showing there for a second here. Let me go to, there we go. Okay, so I just wanted to show here, if I came to this Unit 2 learning guide, or let's just say I wanted to take some content from here, and I liked this reading here. I could come anywhere to StudyForge in any other lesson, and I could just take this reading and I could drag it into this lesson here. And I could take this reading and I could drag it into this lesson here. So I can navigate around to different lessons within StudyForge and easily add content to the current lesson that I'm working on here, and tweak that content in different ways. So if I click this little check mark here, now my custom ELE 9, I've added some content from the other lessons as well within StudyForge here. So I just wanted to show that that's how you can kind of rearrange, take stuff from other lessons and pull it in, or tweak and adjust those settings. Now I'm going to pop over to a different, I'm here for 1 second. Okay, now currently there isn't a way to kind of duplicate and edit the content that's specifically in this reading. That's a feature that we hope to have really soon, but you can copy this reading and create a new reading and add that content and add that reading back into your lesson. So if I was to do that, I'm actually gonna sorry, should have had this up. I thought I had it already, but I don't. So I need to just come over to another custom lesson with a different user. Okay, here we go. So this is that same kind of editing screen that I showed you there before. And there's a create option here to create new content. So this is something that's not necessarily turned on by default. It's still at this stage, probably until mid-summer, something that you just need to send a support request either to Brent or our team to ask us to turn on these kind of create options for you. But if you wanted to, you could come in here and you could create a new reading as well. And so here's where you could create a new reading and you could copy the content from that previous reading in and adjust and edit it. Or you could create your own instructions for a student that are custom specifically for you and your school, like please take a look at this content. It's very fun. Feel free to skip the third activity. I don't know, just something to kind of give your students some specific instructions. We will call this demo reading. Should work. Okay, and there's some things in there that you can play around with, etc. But let's go back over to this this lesson here that we're editing. Now that we're editing this lesson, if you create new content and hit this little plus button, the last thing that you created will be right here, and you can drag that into your lesson as well. So as to click that button, then this little demo reading that we created can be there right in the content that your students see. So there is also, I'll just leave us with this, to walk you through this process. There's videos, there'll be the recording of this session as well, but also there is on our help center on help.studyforge.net, there's a customizing courses section here. And there's a customizing a course and customizing a lesson, and there's some videos there that will walk you through the process that I just showed as well. So that is, that's just kind of how that works. Now, the last piece to kind of edit and tweak and make your own custom lesson. Now, the last piece that we have to do is once we've gone through this workflow and created our custom course, where is it here? This one, okay. So this my custom ELE9 course, I need to come here and I need to basically take this lesson and give it to my students. Because right now, over in D2L, this letters as stories lesson points to the WCLN master course. And we need to basically send students not to this lesson, excuse me, but to the to this custom one that we've created, where this was True Stories of Adventure. So let's go back over here and find that lesson, True Stories of Adventure. I think it was a unit 3. Spires fighting on. No, maybe it was unit 2. No, it was unit 1. Huh. There it is, True Stories of Adventure. Now in Moodle, Moodle's really fun, and Moodle is nice because I can just go to turn editing on, and I could go to where was that? True Stories of Adventure, True Stories of Adventure, and I could come here and just edit these settings and basically change this link here. So right now it's pointing to the original lesson in the WCLN master course, and we want to point that to this specific lesson here. And there's a few different ways to get that link. One way is to grab the just click on this menu here and click copy LTI link, and then you would come over here and you would just paste that LTI link. I'm not going to save this because Brent might freak out that I'm going to update the master course here. I promise I will not do that. So I'll leave that site. Another way to view all the links is to come here to my custom ELA9 and click on the view course outline option here. I'll just open that in a new tab. And from here, I could just grab any of the LTI links and copy them easily like this. So it's really easy to kind of get these links to my new custom course. There I've tweaked the WCLN course and made some changes. So I can copy those links and I could put them back into Moodle really easily. In D2L, it's not quite as easy. They don't let you update a link once it's been previously made. So in that case, what you need to do is basically existing activities and click, there should be a StudyForge LTI 1.3 here. And there's a couple different ways to do this. One way is you can just come in here and paste the URL to the lesson if you got it that way, and it will automatically fill in all this stuff here. Another way to do it would be to navigate to the specific lesson, just kind of through these drop-down menus here, and it will fill it in. So there's kind of either way. You could either paste in this URL and it will fill in these things here, or you can go find it and it will fill in the URL. Either way, once we hit this create link button, then you'll have the updated True Stories of Adventure there. So that's one way to add it. There's another way to add it in D2L as well, which is to come over to course tools and, well, actually, I'll leave it at that. That's probably the easiest way to add something. Another way to do it, though, is if you have the specific link, is to come in here and go to, where would it be? It must be under, okay. In this view of D2L, external learning tools is right here at the top. But there's a way to see more course settings somewhere. Well, I'll get to it from here. So you can go to LTI Advantage here and create a new link here as well. This is another way to add the thing, and you can give it the name of, what were we calling it? True Stories. And then the URL here, and hit save and close. And then this link will be, oops. Okay. And that link should be added there. And then from that way, I think we also then have to add it to the content. So there's True Stories. This is the one that we just made here. And I can click on that one. And then it will be added to the bottom of my section here. So that's two ways to add it to D2L. Both ways are a little bit more difficult. So if that's the case, then Moodle, unfortunately. If that's the case, I would then probably move that to where the previous learning tool was, and then I would delete the old learning tool. So that's how you would direct students to your custom lesson within StudyForge. Okay, so I'm not going to keep that new one that I had there. So that's the workflow. Like I said, again, that's outlined on our help site, so help.studyforge.net, on kind of how to walk you through how to make those changes. And once you've created that custom course and start tweaking it and make those link swaps over, it is kind of an initial setup process, but then you have access to, if you want to change or tweak what's on the WCLN site, you're able to do that now within those lessons. Great, so I wanted to talk about quizzes. So,
Richard, are you open to taking questions at this point?
Sure, yeah, we could take a couple questions about that process for sure.
Okay.
Quizzes will go faster, yeah.
Okay, so with the customized course, where does it reside? Does it reside back at StudyForge, WCLN, or is it the local Brightspace D2L instance?
Great question. So it exists within StudyForge, and there's a key point to that I didn't cover yet, but that I think is really crucial, is that if we were on, say, this lesson, True Stories of Adventure, and you did want to customize and tweak this content here, this specific reading, let's say you only replaced this reading, you didn't like this one about fatty legs, for example, this book and this story here. So let's say you removed this specific reading, but you left all the other readings the same. And let's say that a different teacher at the WCLN reported that there was an issue on this reading. even if it's within your custom course, if you still have this particular reading here, you'll get an update to, you'll still be getting the errata and the changes and the fixes to the other readings besides the ones that you've edited or customized or added your own. You'll still be getting any fixes to this particular reading because it's all still residing in the StudyForge platform, and it's not in your specific D2L or in the specific Moodle D2L. Again, this will be a big one for the quizzes, especially, and those big question databases, because you can basically mix and match your own questions and the StudyForge questions as well.
So essentially,
Sorry,
customize
the WCLN question database hosted in the StudyForge platform. Sorry, my bad there. Yeah, go ahead, Francis.
So in terms of the content, then your customized content coexists with the StudyForge content, right? So basically, if you customize one item, the other ones will still be linked to StudyForge. Is that right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, each thing on this page, StudyForge is built on a learning object model, we call it. So basically, each of these learning objects, this is a reading. This is a reading. Most of what you'll see in the lessons is readings. So each of these readings kind of exists in a database. And so it's pulled into different lessons and all maintained kind of in one place centrally. So that's one of the big benefits for the WCLN community in using the software, is the ability to be able to have those updates and still tweak and have that live side by side. Okay.
And my last question, I guess it's just more for my own framework, for my own way of thinking. So it sounds like when you want to customize a course, it's very similar to what we had to do in previous years with Moodle, where we download, install the Moodle course locally, and then we can customize as we see fit. So it's very, am I right in that sort of analogy or metaphor, that it's very similar process where, you know, we download the StudyForge master course, and then we can make a copy of it and then do whatever we want to that copy.
Exactly. Yeah, that's 100% correct.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Great questions. No, I hugely appreciate it. Feel free, anybody else to jump in while you want. I'm just going to get a quiz queued up here as well. So here's Unit 1 test. So you've seen, you've seen the lesson side of StudyForge. The other aspect of StudyForge that WCLN is using is the quiz setting there. Sorry, did someone have a question?
Are you on Zoom right?
Okay, maybe not. Okay, all right. So quizzes here. Now, quiz customization. I'm just going to show you kind of two layers of that. The first layer is changing the settings on a quiz. So as soon as you click into a quiz, you'll see kind of the basic settings that WCLN has set up as the master settings for the quiz. Things like, is there time limit? Is there maximum number of attempts? Can students review the quiz after they take it or not? If they can take multiple attempts, how are those aggregated? Is there a password on the test that you want to give to students? A lot of the tests have the same passwords, I believe, that were in Moodle originally, and so those are here as well for this, before the students take the test. So here's a kind of the basic settings of those tests. Now you can edit settings for your specific class in D2L or your specific class in Moodle from here by clicking these edit settings buttons, in which case you can change any of these settings here. So it'll always show you the basic settings here for Brightspace. Then it will show you the settings for your specific class here as well. And then you could also add settings for a specific student. There's no students in this class here, but you could also add columns and it will add settings for that specific student. And you can change them there as well. Yeah, Bill, you have a question about that?
Yeah, just two things. There is a plugin with Moodle currently that allows me to change every password on every test to a common password for a course. And you can do it basically just by changing it once, which is obviously pretty effective if you don't want to change. Let's say there's 8 different tests within this course, you know, having to do the same thing 8 times. So that's really nice. I don't know if there's that option in StudyForge. And then also in setting up a specific environment for a student, I think it's through maybe content connections, they have a way of changing it. So you select the student, you know, Joe Smith, and then you just simply click all of the assessments that you wish to change the password for, put in a password, and it would set a password for all 8 at the same time. So it's a major time saving thing for administrators when it comes to quizzes. So I'm wondering if StudyForge is anything like that. Either of those.
Yeah, good questions. No, don't have anything either like that, of that kind of bulk editing a whole bunch of quizzes at once at this point, but that's a really great suggestion. So we'll take that back to the team. All right. So that's where you can change. So just back to this is where you can change the settings for the quizzes here. Now, the last piece, and this is something that's coming in here soon, and I'm just going to demo part of that, is the ability to update and add your own questions and mix and match them with the D2L questions here. So again, I'm just going to go over to this user that has those editing permissions. And I'm going to show you what you can do in terms of creating a new quiz question. So we are really close. I was hoping I would have a demo today of this, but we just couldn't quite get the staging environment up. We're scheduled to launch the first version of this feature in a couple of weeks, but by the time we hit midsummer, we should be a few iterations into this feature. And just to kind of show you what that looks like, and that's basically the feature to build the quizzes, and that will allow you to take the entire WCLN database of questions, mix and match your own questions as well, and again, have that kind of same exact thing that we described for the lessons, being able to mix and match on the quizzes. The benefit for the quizzes, it's kind of going to leapfrog the lesson editing that we have, in that you won't have to go through that whole structure of creating a custom course necessarily. You can just come to the quiz, you'll be able to hit edit and start editing and tweaking that quiz right away. You won't have to create that whole course structure that I showed. But I just wanted to show you here the different types of questions that you can create, because there was a question about that earlier, like, can I create a question that was drag and drop onto an image? So there's a few different things here, like there's a drag and drop responses into a grid with 2 columns in a row. So here's something where, I wonder if this will work. You could put images in different places here, and you could drag and drop images and questions into here. There's all different types of questions, and there's a really rich set of questions. So there's a greater set of questions that you can create in StudyForge than in Moodle and in D2L. And then these questions you could mix and match in with the questions that are provided by the WCLN in their quizzes as well. So yeah, so just wanted to show you kind of what that looked like and our kind of quiz building feature here. For the STEM people, there is some Desmos style of questions that can create some really fun and cool questions and activities that students can drag a line to see the different success cases. So there's computer grade questions that aren't necessarily multiple choice there. There's also chemistry style questions or math style questions. And then there's all different types of written questions that you can create as well, where students can record video, record audio, and again, all of these types of questions, those would be teacher graded questions that you put into quizzes as well. So basically think of everything that you have in Moodle and more. There's different types of questions that you can do in StudyForge as well. There's also features that you can add to questions, such as like a protractor or a ruler that you could have over the question, so that you could have that be part of the question, like, hey, measure this angle, and what angle do you think that is? You could add a protractor to a question to kind of to make that work. And then I will just show you, I just wanted to show you guys so that you can see kind of that we're working on it and are making some great progress. This is some of the design documents of what our quiz looks like. I couldn't show you the actual demo because it's, again, I don't have access to it on this computer. But here's an example of what our quiz builder will look like, where you can basically assume having a WCLN course here, create your own questions and drag them right into the WCLN courses. rearrange them. And then again, if there's any errata or changes or fixes to the WCLN database, you get those as well as you go. So that will kind of like look at what a little example of what the quiz builder will look like here. So that's kind of the last piece, and I'll take any more questions and run through the other questions that I haven't answered yet from the demo. So Trish, I see a hand raised. Did you have a question for us?
I was just looking, you were doing the quiz, adding questions in the Brightspace or D2L. Can you show how you would do it in Moodle?
So
How
it
you
will
would
look the
add-
same. Yeah, this is actually in StudyForge. So it will look the same whether it's in Moodle or in D2L. This is what it'll look like.
So where are you clicking to get that? I've got my StudyForge course right here in Moodle. That's how I access it, right? And so I know
Right,
how
yeah.
to edit the settings, right? But where would I click to edit the to change the questions on the quiz?
Yeah, so the two things. Number one, we haven't turned on, so where you will click to create a new question is right here. So at the top of the thing, you'll see this 3-line menu. And if you click here, then you would see create a new question. Now your account doesn't have that.
Create a new question. Oh, we don't have it
so
yet.
Don't have it yet. So that's not turned on
Okay.
yet for WCLN. So when it will show up here, you'll see this one looks slightly different than this one, but it's still StudyForge. So right here, it stops at manage. Here, the create settings are not turned on yet for WCLN clients. So that is something that is coming again.
Yeah.
No, you're not missing it yet. We can turn on for you. So there will come a point this summer where we will turn those on for everybody. But until then, if you message us and you want to kind of like get in there and see what you can do, then that's something that you can do. Now, you could create quiz questions and see the type of questions that you could create, but you can't add them to a quiz yet. That is the last feature that's coming. And that's what we're kind of waiting for to launch all of these. It kind of seems weird to be able to create a quiz question, but not add it to a quiz yet. So we're going to wait till that feature is launched in order to do all of that. So that's why you don't see it yet. It's not there. But as you can see here, it will be in that menu. So here you have custom courses. You can do all of the rearranging within lessons. You just can't create your own content and add it to lessons or quizzes yet until we turn that on.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great. So I'm going to run through the other questions. Poria, did you have another question?
Yes. First of all, it was a bit heartwarming, the fact that we're a little bit more free in terms of the possibilities of the questions with StudyForge. So that was really nice to hear. And my question was, you were saying about the special settings for students. Are we able to also put a special password for, let's say, some students and different passwords for others?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And you can give any setting that you can do for the whole class, you can do for an individual student. Okay. So you could give students custom passwords for particular students. You could give your whole class no password, but one particular student a password because you don't want them taking the test until they check with you. Or you can, give a particular student extra attempts, whereas the class might only have one attempt. You could give, so that, I think that answers that question.
And just the second part, once I am grading a quiz, how would it look in terms of a grader? Am I able to see all the students who've attempted it in one part? Am I able to see the answer keys as well? Those will be well displayed. How would that sort of display?
Yeah, let me see if I could find an example of that. Don't know if I have any. Brent, would there be a place in WCLN where you've attempted a test or quiz with a student? I don't know if I would have an example.
No, not on the WCLN site.
Okay.
Isn't, I'm afraid.
Okay. That's a great, go ahead.
I don't know if that's totally true, Brent, because I'm somehow connected to one of those courses and I've got a notification that somebody has gone in and done them.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Is there have been some people fooling around with tests in there. I could go digging through my email and see where they came from, but yes, good point, Robert. I could try and dig for one, but I probably wouldn't be able to in the last 5 minutes here.
Likewise.
Robert,
Okay.
if you find one in the next few minutes, we could pull one up.
Okay, I'll take a quick look.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Richard, back to the previous question about individual or customizing quiz password. Is it possible to set unique tests or quiz passwords for groups or sections rather than just individual students?
No, there's just the class, or there's the students. Yeah, there's no individual. The groups that would be like if you had groups in Moodle or groups in D2L, I don't think that information gets passed to StudyForge.
Okay.
While he's looking for that test, I'll just address something that Anna-Rita brought up, which is a really good point, is the editing lessons and quiz questions for that matter, is something that we all kind of thought this would be excellent, and it will be. It'll be awesome. It does bring up the idea that every time you do that, you kind of cut the connection between the updates. So I think it'll be a learning process to figure out, at what point does it make more sense to cut that string and go on my own versus getting into the discussion forums and throwing some ideas back where that connection is held on, and you can benefit from everybody else's feedback and updates as well. So yeah, in a lot of ways, it's a lot more power, which is awesome where we want to go. With that power, there'll be some education and lots of decisions as we go along as well, because we don't want to give up the benefits of the LTI, which if you cut everything loose and modified everything, you would, there's definitely a downside to that too. So we got to be strategic.
Yeah. There is data behind the scenes in StudyForge that that we can probably make visible or have warnings or notifications potentially, that if a lesson was, like, let's say you created a version of a quiz that was based off of a WCLN quiz, and you've changed some things, etc. StudyForge knows that you've made a copy of that quiz and have made some changes. And so there is a way that, potentially we could create a report for Brent to, or for like WCLN course editors, that when they do that, they'd be able to see everybody who had made a custom course off of that and push them a notification, or at least an email saying, hey, just so you know, this has been updated. So there is different workflows, but like Brent said, we'll have to figure out what, how much of that is going on, what's happening there, and what we kind of want the right workflow to be. But yeah, we're committed to work with the WCLN to ensure that that what they want to accomplish can happen in those types of ways, because all that stuff is there, all the data is there. It's just, what do we want to do with it? So that'll be fun to figure out exactly. Bill, did you have still your hand raised there?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I just wanted two questions of clarification, because maybe I heard it incorrectly. So you said that there is a way to change an entire class or entire courses test passwords at one time and don't have to go through each individual test to do so?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
No, you still have to go through each test. Yeah.
Okay, good. And then if there's 9 different instances of LTI and I customize one of them, the other 8 would still be updated constantly as WCLN updates their LTI. Just the one I've customized would not be updated. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not unlinking the entire course, just that one instance of LTI that I've decided to modify.
Yeah, which is often what people do. Like they'll go and tweak, a few lessons, but leave 9 lessons the same. And again, to be clear, even if you kind of like sever that link, if you're still keeping individual learning objects, some things on the page might still get updates from WCLN. It would just be if they add more learning objects, like more readings, though you want to get those updates if you kind of make that slice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, great questions and good suggestions. Keep them rolling, keep them flowing into Brent, and then he'll send them to us, and then we'll get the team going. Robert.
Yeah, I don't know
Francis.
if you have time and still want to go through it, but Accounting 11 Unit 1 quiz was completed.
Let's see if we can get there. That'd be fun. And then Francis, I think I saw your thing light up.
Yeah, I was just a follow-up to the previous question. So I unlink a lesson, make my changes, and then you guys push out that just an update. I like the new update. Is there a way to relink it, or how do I relink it then? But it is possible then, right?
Absolutely. So you can relink a lesson to the previous lesson if you wanted to. You could copy the pieces over that you liked into your new custom course because you have control over that custom course. Or you could just change the LTI link. There's like a few different ways you could do it. You could change the LTI link in Moodle or in D2L just to point back to the original course. Those are all different ways that you could basically revert back to that content. But likely if you've tweaked or customized, you might have added a few of your own kind of instruction sets and things like that. So you'll want to kind of be intentional about pulling over, just using that thing that I showed you, where basically you hit edit on your lesson, navigate to the WCLN lesson that you unlinked from and go like, okay, I like that new piece of content, drag it over, hit save, and then you're back up and running with your kids. So this is what I wanted to show you. So this shows what the grading looks like, what it looks like when students have started an attempt here. And so the settings were up
share
here.
Screen there, Richard.
Oh yeah, thanks, Brent. Classic. I just assume when I'm on Zoom that everybody's looking at my screen all the time. It's a problem I have. Okay, so here we are in Moodle. So I've clicked in through Moodle here. I'm in the Unit 1 quiz, and there was an attempt here, 2 attempts. So some people have clicked in as a student and taken this test. So before, here's where I was showing you the settings are still up at top. The attempts are down below. And you can sort by a bunch of different ways on this type of a place here. And then you can hit grade attempt over here to see the teacher marking side of what this looks like. So depending on how big your screen is, if it gets really small, it might adjust the view. But essentially on the left, you'll see the students' responses, and whoever did this was brilliant because they got everything right. On the right, you'll see the opportunity to adjust or edit or tweak or change the marks for the test. So these ones were all auto scored quizzes. So in this case, you could change that from, if you don't want them to have full marks, you could change that to a 0.5, hit save scores. And as soon as you hit that, it will send it back to Moodle or Brightspace right away, the updated grade. And you can see now here, the student has a different mark there. So if there's multiple attempts, then the student's multiple attempts will be grouped under the student's name. But that shows you there kind of when they took it, when you graded it, and all those types of things there. So that's the grading feature. So you click grade attempt and you'll see that kind of 2-column view of the student's work. Thanks. Yeah, Harsher, jump in. And then I still have a couple questions. Actually, Harsher, can I wait on your question? Because there's a couple that I wanted to hit.
Can I just quickly say it and you can answer it whenever you have? It was just about extending the licenses. Do we still need to do that, or do they still have a year? Just wondering about that. Thanks.
No, so that's one of the questions I was going to circle back. So your original question of answering is the WCLN courses don't have any licenses attached to them because it's a different model. So essentially, if you've had StudyForge courses before, then it's a per course per license model that we've sold it on so far. We're potentially looking at expanding that model to a different style where you don't have to manage licenses, but for now, the WCLN courses all essentially have zero cost to them is the way it works. So there's no, students can access them and go, there's no license management whatsoever from admin side. So that whole aspect of the StudyForge system is not necessary for accessing on the WCLN side of StudyForge. I think that answered most of the questions. Actually, we got through most of them. So I don't think there's anything outstanding unless, so we answered about the licenses, answered about some of the Brightspace stuff. We answered about question types. There's all kinds of drag and drop and click on images, and there's all kinds of fun question types. I'm excited for WCLN developers to get to explore over the next few years, as well as being able to add and subtract questions from the WCLN database and mix and match the WCLN database with your own questions and be able to tweak and edit those. That's all coming this summer. I'm so excited. And we're on track with our development times there, which is really exciting as well. So.
All right. Well, we don't want to hold you out there too long there, Richard, but super appreciation for the time and doing this. Yeah, StudyForge has been an incredible partner in all this. When we kind of decided to pull the trigger and go in the direction of this, just because it seemed like the smartest thing for us to continue on with our development long term. It seemed like the smartest move for us. And yeah, ever since we pulled that trigger, these guys have been awesome as far as helping us get in that direction and listening to needs from our end and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think we've made the right move going in this direction, and with Richard and the StudyForge gang, they've been really good to work with. So anyways, I appreciate Richard giving us this time to give the overview. It was super fast. I totally get it that we're not walking away from this as experts on any of this stuff. We're kind of like, wow, there's lots of cool things to do. At some point, we're going to learn how to do this solid, but now I'm just getting a glimpse of things, and fair enough, that's all it was intended to be. So perfect. There will be training coming down the pipe, probably mostly in the fall, and we'll get another shot at making some notes on some of these things and really getting to understand how to modify things. But anyways, we are at the end of our time. So thank you for coming by, and I will post this. So if you want to pass it along, if there's anybody that wanted to be here, I will post this. WCLN under teacher support, Prody opportunities seems like the right place to post this video. So that's where it will be sometime tomorrow morning. So thanks again for your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Richard, if you're going to stick around, I